Hey everyone, the Dodgers are now tied with the Padres in the NL West division. Let's get into our series breakdown. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. The Dodgers had an exciting series against the Padres this past weekend in San Diego, and unfortunately the Dodgers dropped the first two games, but salvaged the series with an encouraging Sunday performance. The Dodgers had their chances, but just didn't seem to come through consistently this past series. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 3 keys to success that we discussed in last week's video and see how they translated over to this series against the Padres. The first one was solid, lengthy starting pitching, and for the most part, the Dodgers did well. Blake Snell in the series opener went 7 innings, only 2 earned runs, and they were in the same inning, so just a bad inning for Snell there, with 5 strikeouts. Then Yamamoto in yesterday's game, Sunday, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, which were off of just 1 home run. It was 1 mistake he made, 6 strikeouts, only 2 walks. Very good outing for Yoshi. The weakest link for the Dodgers this past weekend was Tyler Glasnow, who has been putting up really good outings for the team lately. But he only went 4 innings, 3 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts, but 4 walks. That's been a trend for Tyler Glasnow this season, the walks. 24 runs have been scored off of Tyler Glasnow this year, and 12 of them, got on base via the walk. On Saturday, for example, 2 of those walks set up the bases loaded situation that ultimately ended up as a 2-run single. Dodgers are now behind. Why does Tyler Glasnow struggle with the walks? Well, it's because of how often he throws his first pitch for a strike. If you look at his first pitch strike percentage, it was really high in 2022, 73.1%, and slowly through the years it has declined. A huge drop off from the 24 season now to 25, that's a 10% drop. It's now at 54.2%, and that is currently 5th worst among all MLB pitchers that are eligible for this stat. So let's refine our key to success a little bit. Solid, lengthy starting pitching that prevents base runners via the walk. And we talked a little bit about what effect this might have on the rest of the team, helping out the bullpen, for example. So this week, the Rockies and Padres series combined, starting pitchers averaged 5.6 innings. That's up from last week's average, which was around 5. So good trend there. And then we talked about how earlier in the season, early July, in 1 week, the bullpen was pitching 29 innings. And then you fast forward and you have last Padres series that week, 19.6 innings pitched by the bullpen. And now that has continued to decline as pitchers are going deeper into the game to start. And now the bullpen this week pitched 19.2 innings. So a great trend here, trying to spread out the innings that are being pitched, not relying so much on the bullpen and letting them catch their breath. Another thing that will help that is the return of Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. Both pitchers returned on Sunday. What a breath of fresh air seeing them was, thinking about how they're going to help spread out those outings and that workload. So great to see that. Solid, lengthy starting pitching. Don't let runners get on base by the walk. It'll help everyone. Second key to success was team at bats. So how did the team do with that this past series? It was rough. The Dodgers ran into some really good pitchers, and it showed. On Friday, the Dodgers only had 1 hit through 8 innings, and it was an Alex Freeland home run. Then on Saturday, you had 2 hits throughout the entire game, and one of them was a home run by guess who? Alex Freeland. I just gotta say, I called that one. Last week after the Rockies series, I said, Freeland's got some power coming his way. I put it in one of my videos, and boom, it happened. So great to see that production from Freeland, but the rest of the guys got to support him. It has to be a cohesive lineup. And they had opportunities, just didn't get to cash in. This series 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And just to provide some examples, on Friday, Dalton rushing, it's the 8th inning. You have 2 runners on base off of Mason Miller, one of the Padres' best relievers. He hits into a double play. Then you had a missed opportunity in the 9th inning with Robert Suarez on one of the games. Betts and Freeman both grinding out at-bats to get base hits, and just strikeouts never came through, missed opportunity. Even on Sunday, the Dodgers had in the first inning bases loaded, no outs, and granted, Teoscar Hernandez almost cleared the bases with a grand slam. Laureano, great center fielder out there, took that ball back, so a sac fly, 1 run, but then the important part is that after that, there were 2 strikeouts. Nothing happened other than that sac fly in that first inning. So what the Dodgers need to do going forward is focus on contact. Once the table is set, you've got guys on base, there are ducks on the pond, you gotta bring them in. And strikeouts are not going to get the job done. So focus on contact, put the ball in play, see what happens. Even Teoscar's hit, it wasn't a grand slam, but it did get the job done. So put the ball in play, see what happens, focus on contact. Second point here, the whole lineup needs to show up. Hopefully the returns of Max Muncy, Kike Hernandez, Tommy Edman, these guys will help bring in a more cohesive lineup. But you saw on Sunday kind of the idea of what the Dodgers are trying to do. You had Freddie Freeman and Shohei bringing a thump at the top of the lineup, but it was the bottom of the lineup that set the table for Dalton Rushing's huge go-ahead home run, which, by the way, that was an amazing moment for the rookie. Hopefully that will help him increase his confidence going forward. But it was Pages getting on with a single, Conforto by a walk, that led to that big moment. So that bottom half of the lineup is so important, not just for setting the stage for the top of the lineup, but also for producing runs themselves. A balanced lineup that every guy in there has their role and value for the lineup. What's the third point here for this at-bats topic? Urgency in every single at-bat. You saw in those late innings, for example, Mookie and Freddie grinding out at-bats against Robert Suarez, the Padres closer, to get on base and set up a rally. They did their job, but that's the kind of urgency that these Dodgers need in every single at-bat. Lately, they've been having a hard time retaining leads, and if they're behind, struggling to catch up and tie the game early instead of waiting later as the innings progress. So the Dodgers, from the beginning of the game, have to have urgency to get out in front, keep that lead, tack on, and ultimately win the game with a powerful lead. Now, third, I wanted to talk about defense because that was our third key from last week, and the standout for me was Mookie Betts. He made some amazing plays at shortstop on Friday that blew my mind. He is just progressing so well at that position, and it made me think about how some Dodger fans want him back in right field. We had some discussion on the Instagram side of things in a reel that I posted, how some want him back in right field with Edman or someone else filling the position there at shortstop. So let's real quick, we're not going to go deep into conversation about this. We can definitely make another video about that as the season progresses, but just an overview of what are some of the options for the Dodgers at shortstop. This list does not include Ha-Seong Kim. I believe if the Dodgers use him, it'll be at second base, where he mostly played in his time with the Dodgers when he was healthy. So we have here a stat called outs above average. How many outs does this fielder record above the average defender at that position? And in 2023, at shortstop, Mookie Betts had a negative number there. It's only 16 games, very short sample size, but that number worsened in 2024, negative 5 outs above average in 65 games, but now look at this increase. 2025, Mookie has a 4 outs above average in 118 games, about double the games that he played last year at the position, and wow, has he improved. You can see it in the range, the strong throws. His accuracy has continued to build up over time. He's finally settling into the position, which is what took some time last year, and he never really got to settle in. I think now Mookie's settled in, and potentially moving him off of that spot might disrupt his rhythm and might even set him back in his progression as a shortstop for future seasons. But, of course, he's won 6 Gold Glove awards in right field. I don't think you can really do wrong putting him in either position for Mookie. He's a star. Just for me personally, I like to see him at shortstop. But some of the options, you have good options here. Miguel Rojas, always been a star defender anywhere you put him in the infield. The 2022 season is not shown here, but he had a 10 outs above average. It dipped in the 23 season to 6, went back up to 10 in 2024, and then this year he's only played 21 games at the position, 0 outs above average, but very strong defender there. Tommy Edman, the Dodgers postseason shortstop last year, 11 outs above average at shortstop in 2022. That was with the Cardinals. It dipped a little bit. He played less games there in 2023, 48 games, 4 outs above average. And then with the Dodgers 2024, just a few games at shortstop, 18, and then -3 outs above average. So that I don't think is very indicative of how well he performed there at that position. He's a strong option, and I think depending on how his offense is compared to Rojas, he's a better fit there at shortstop for the Dodgers. Then you have Alex Freeland, a rookie who has made some standout plays at third base this year. He played 67 games at shortstop in the minor leagues this season with a fielding percentage of 97.2. So hasn't proven himself there at the position at the big league level, but definitely has at the minor league level. So intriguing to see what we have there as a future shortstop. Well, the Dodgers are currently tied with the Padres in the division, and if we look at the National League standings, the Brewers, I don't think the Dodgers are catching up to Milwaukee. I think it's more reasonable for them to catch up to Philadelphia. They're about 2 games behind them. If the Dodgers get into that second spot in the National League, they can skip the wild card series and go straight to the National League Division Series. But if not, they will have to play in the wild card series. So I think, number one goal, win the division, and then if possible, catch up to the Phillies to skip the wild card round, take that time to rest, reset, and be ready for the NLDS. Is it possible? Definitely. The Dodgers are playing 8 more teams this season, some of them more than others. There are some repeats there, but 5 of those teams have a win percentage of under 500. So these are some of the weaker teams the Dodgers will be facing. They need to win against the teams that they should win against. What do you guys think? Will the Dodgers win the division in this season? And what did you think of their play this past weekend against the Padres? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks everybody for watching. Go Dodgers. My name is Alan, and I will see you on the next episode of All Things Dodgers.